guys, welcome back to Dog Paw Blog. Today's video is going to be a requested video. Someone sent me a comment asking about vet schedules and vaccine schedules. So this is going to be pretty much for a puppy because that's when you're really getting a lot of frequent vaccines. And then I'll kind of briefly talk about the adult vaccines. The puppy you're seeing here is my sister's puppy. So his name is Teddy, and he's a cute little guy. He's a Shih Tzu, just like Coco is. So we're in the process of now of getting his vaccines done. His the puppy shots. A lot of people call them puppy shots, but they are vaccines. And even when they're not puppies, they still get these vaccines when they're adults. They just don't get them as often. So ideally, a puppy is staying with its mom and its litter mates until about 10 to 12 weeks old. That gives them time to still socialize with other dogs, but in a safe environment with their mom and their litter mates before they, leave. But in reality, a lot of puppies go home as soon as they are done weaning. So at 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, they're going home. They're leaving their mom to go live with a new family. So this is looking at the most prevalent time that these puppies are starting their vaccines, which is going to be 6 to 8 weeks in my case. Like the case that I saw the most as a vet tech, 6 to 8 weeks we were seeing puppies come in. At 6 to 8 weeks, they're going to start their Distemper and their Bordetella vaccines. Now, these two vaccines can be good for 3 weeks. Usually Distemper is given in a series of 4, and the Bordetella can be given once, depending on your vet. Sometimes they'll give intranasal, and it's good for 3 weeks. You come back in 3 weeks, and then it's good for a year if they give an injectable. Sometimes they just give it every 6 months as an intranasal, so it just depends. But overall, 6 to 8 weeks, you're taking your puppy in for Distemper, which is also DHPP, and DA2PP, which is Distemper, adenovirus, parvo influenza, and parvo. And that's good for 3 weeks. You go back in. You've also done that Bordetella. Bordetella is also known as kennel cough. And at that point, you do want to get a stool sample tested for internal parasites. You're going to be testing for whipworms, hookworms, roundworms. You're going to be bringing in a fecal sample from that day so that the vet can take a look at that. Sometimes they'll do it in-house and a technician will look at it, and sometimes they'll send it out to a lab. It just depends. And they'll often do just a precautionary dewormer, Strongid, Pyrantel, which will kind of do like a blanket treatment for intestinal parasites. Now, this isn't the same thing as the heartworm medication, which we'll get to in a second. So 6 to 8 weeks, Distemper, Bordetella, fecal test, and dewormer. Now, in 2 to 3 weeks, you'll go back in for the boosters. You're going to repeat the Distemper if your vet gives a series of 2 Bordetellas. The Bordetella is going to be done probably sub-Q at this point, and it's going to be good for a year. If you got a intranasal or an oral and it was good for 6 months, you'll just wait another 6 months. It just depends on what your vet's protocol is for vaccinating against kennel cough or Bordetella. At that point, you'll start the lepto vaccine for leptospirosis, and that'll be good for 3 weeks. And sometimes I like to repeat the fecal and also do another dewormer, just in case. Sometimes the sample that's sent in, they won't find any evidence of ovum, but they like to repeat the test just to make sure. So 9 to 12 weeks, you're looking at the second round of Distemper, Bordetella, starting lepto, and repeating a fecal test and doing another dose of dewormer. 12 to 15 weeks, you're going to go back in. They're going to do the third round of Distemper. They're going to be finishing the lepto series, which will be good for a year now, and they'll likely do rabies vaccine. Rabies vaccine, the first one is good for a year. If it's kept current, it'll be good for 3 years. If you ever lapse, depending on your veterinarian's protocol, you may have to start over, and it's good for a year, and then once it's kept current, it's good for 3 years. And then you'll get a certificate and a tag. You'll register your pet with the county, pay your pet license fee, all of that. 15 to 18 weeks, you'll go back in, have your 4th Distemper. This should be the last Distemper in the series. It is good for a year, just like the rabies, and then if it's kept current, it's good for 3 years after that, if it's kept current. You're going to start your Lyme series for Lyme vaccine, go back in 2 or 3 weeks, 18 to 21 weeks, you'll have your final series of Lyme, which is good for a year. So 4 to 6 months. You're looking at now having the spay and neuter consultation with the vet. They're going to be looking to see if your male dog, if the testicles have descended, if they're cryptorchid, if your female's already in heat. There's going to be a different cost associated with that. They're going to be looking if your puppy retained any of its baby teeth, because they can take those baby teeth out during the spay or neuter procedure. So you'll have that consultation. They'll go over everything, do some pre-surgical blood work likely, and then schedule the spay or neuter. 10 to 12 days, 14 days, you'll go back in and they'll examine the area where they did the surgery. And then if they did not use dissolvable sutures, they will remove the sutures, make sure everything looks good. At 7 months to a year old, kind of the last thing you're finishing up is the Heartworm Test. It'll be a blood draw really quick, a couple drops of blood from the front arm. They'll do that in-house. A lot of people will do a 3DX, some will do a 4DX, and that is testing your pet's blood for heartworm, the presence of heartworm, Lyme disease, anaplasmosis, and I always say this wrong, ehrlichiosis. So those are all tick-borne things they can come in contact with, so they test for that. It's usually just called a heartworm test, but they're testing for more than just the presence of heartworm. And that is your dog's first year of vaccines. Depending on where you live, your pet may not be as at risk for things like leptospirosis, so that may not be a vaccine that your veterinarian recommends. Other optional vaccines, depending on where you live, would be canine influenza, which is also given a series of 2. So the first one you get is good for 3 weeks, you go back in, it's good for a year. Another vaccine is corona. Some vets give it, some vets don't, but that's good again, 3 weeks and then good for a year. So I did not talk about flea, tick, and heartworm prevention. You can start your dog on flea, tick, and heartworm prevention as soon as 6 to 8 weeks. Make sure you're getting a dose at a time so that your puppy is not outgrowing it. Now, if you have a Yorkie puppy, your Yorkie puppy's probably going to stay under 20 pounds. So you're probably okay getting a larger box of preventative. But if you've got like a larger dog, like a lab or something, you're going to want to do kind of a dose a month and making sure that you're taking your dog in to be weighed so they're getting the correct dosage for their weight. You can do topicals, Frontline, Revolution, Advantix. You can do internal flea and tick, which would be like NexGard, Comfortis. What's the other one? And then for heartworm prevention, you can do TriHeart. You can do HeartGard, HeartGard Plus, ProHeart injections. I definitely prefer the ProHeart injections. I think your dog has to be 1 to start getting those. So you want to make sure you're keeping your dog current on their vaccines. Make sure you're going back in, especially for puppies, to get their boosters on time. And then your adult dogs, you're getting these same vaccines. It's just you're getting them once a year, typically, except for maybe the Bordetella, which is going to be good for 6 months, depending on if your vet's doing oral or intranasal Bordetella. But you want to do the flea and tick and heartworm prevention monthly. So thank you for requesting this video. I did work as a veterinary technician, and I still work at a veterinary hospital actually, but not as a technician. I'm very familiar with this schedule. Again, this is based on the area that I live on the East Coast, where we get all 4 seasons of weather. It's really, really hot in the summer, spring and fall are mild, and then we get freezing cold winters. So we kind of see everything, and we have a high prevalence of ticks in this area. So this is really specific to where I live and the veterinary protocol that I'm aware of, but where you live would be different depending on the weather and your veterinary's protocol. So definitely follow their advice. I didn't really include corona because the veterinarians that I work with don't do corona. I do know some that do, but not a lot do. And then canine influenza is usually required if you're going to be boarding your dog or doing doggy daycare. So if you have any questions, leave them down below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, leave a comment, and thank you always, guys, for watching. Bye.